Greg Abbott. Good morning.
Chris, good morning. How is the Permian Basin?
You know what? It is another day in paradise here in the Permian Basin. How are you, sir?
Well, I'm doing great. I appreciate all the hard-working Texans out there because you are fueling the great state of Texas.
And we appreciate what you're doing. I know you have been so incredibly busy, but just getting out of session, now calling a new special session to address some things that you weren't able to do earlier. So that's why it's really important to get a chance to talk to you this morning to find out what all are your plans for this upcoming special session.
Well, my plan for a special session is the exact same plan for a regular session, and that is to make Texas even better. First, let's talk about some nomenclature for your audience, and that is what Texas does. We meet for 140 days every other year, so every 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I realize most Texans wish that we would change that to meet for 2 days every 140 years, but the law is what it is. But when we don't take care of everything we need to take care of in the 140 days, we go into what's called a special session, and it lasts for only 30 days. And this time it begins July the 18th. It begins when I, the governor, decide when it begins, and it lasts for 30 days. So it'll begin in mid-July and go to mid-August, and it's going to take up some business that was unfinished during our first 140 days. Things that are important to Texans, I think, and that is things like cutting property taxes. You know, so many Texans can't afford to live in their own home. So many Texans feel like they are renting their home from the appraisal district. Every time you get that appraisal, every time you receive the bill showing how much you owe, you feel like you're getting priced out of your own home.
Absolutely.
Texans need and they deserve real property tax reform. So that is at the very top of the agenda. There's something else I know that's very important. I've heard this every single time I've been to Midland. I've heard it sometimes when I've been to Odessa also, but really throughout the state of Texas. And that is we need to reform the school finance system, the way that the state as well as the local entities generate money to pay for our schools. And, in fact, we need better schools. So one thing I've added to the legislation this summer is to pay our teachers even more. You know, we're going to have great students for the next generation. We need to devote that money to the classroom where the students get trained. And I think our teachers deserve a pay raise, and I'm seeking one for them this summer.
Oh, that is incredible because the whole fate of our students and our children is in the hands of our teachers. They deserve it.
And they really do. And they do such a fantastic job, and we quite literally have some of the best teachers in the entire world. In fact, let me tell you this, because a lot of people don't know. Out of all the public schools, high schools in the United States of America, more of the top 100 public high schools come from Texas than any other state. We've had the top teacher in the entire nation a couple of years ago, and we have what are called Milken Award winners. These are some of the best and brightest teachers from across the entire country right here in the great state of Texas. So our teachers, they work hard. This is a calling for them. They are underpaid. And also there are so many people who may want to be a teacher but don't take the job because the pay is too low. So we're working on trying to increase the pay for them. But, you know, there's other things that we want to address. I came out with a list of 20 items
I see that
I want legislators to work on. Let me tell you another one that is a huge issue that's under a big-time investigation in Dallas right now, but has been a problem that has existed across the state of Texas. As a reminder, before I was governor, I was the attorney general in Texas, and I prosecuted a voter fraud across the entire state of Texas. Well, right now, as we're speaking today, the district attorney in Dallas, Texas, is investigating what appears to be a massive voter fraud scheme. Right now, there are already more than 700 mail-in ballot votes that are under investigation, and it looks like it may expand beyond that. And in a democracy, we all need to have certainty that our elections are going to take place in a fair, legal way with no elections being stolen. And so because this process has raised so many questions, because there's so much uncertainty, and because there has been so much illegality in the vote process, we are looking for ways to reform it to make sure that there will be no cheating or illegal voting at the ballot box in Texas.
That's going to be a big job.
It's a huge job. It's not easy, but it's one that I know that the legislature is prepared for. The fact is, most of the issues that I've put on what's called the call for the special session are issues that the legislature has tangled with before. They know these issues. It's just a matter of being able to vote on them. Sometimes, and this is kind of why we are in what's called a special session, sometimes bills are prepared. They pass out of one of the chambers, but not the other chamber. Let's say they pass out of the Senate, but did not even get a vote in the Texas House of Representatives. My goal in calling a special session is to make sure these items that are so important to the people of the state of Texas get a vote.
Well, you do have 20 of them listed here, and do you feel you're going to be able to get them all done in a 4-week period?
I know they can be done in that 4-week period for two reasons. One is because of I announced earlier this week the special session is going to be coming up, and they have 6 weeks to prepare for this.
Right.
And so they should have all of their homework done before we get to July the 18th. The second thing is, as I mentioned, for almost all of these items that I put on the special session, legislators already have bills prepared and written for them, and actually have even voted on them in one chamber or the other. And so it's just a matter of getting bills that have already been written across the finish line.
One of the items that you have listed, which is really hits my heart, is the prohibition of taxpayer funding to abortion providers, the whole abortion issue. How are you going to address that?
Well, first, we had a very robust, very strong session for protecting unborn life, and we passed many very good laws, such as a law banning dismemberment abortions, for example. But on the one that you mentioned, that is one that was also a bill that was drafted and was voted on in the Texas Senate, but did not get a vote on in the Texas House. So it's just a matter of sending it to the House, getting a vote on it, matching it up with on the Senate side, and getting it across the finish line.
So as of right now, the dismemberment abortions are completely illegal. That law has passed?
That law has passed, and I've signed it.
All right. Thank you, sir. I do appreciate that. And I know a lot of folks here in the Permian Basin, that's one that's very important to them. What about texting while driving preemption? I know that is going to be so hard to enforce. I believe texting and driving is the cause of so many accidents and distracted driving. What are your plans moving forward on this bill?
Well, the chief architect of drafting a bill on that bans texting while driving is from Midland.
Yes.
Tom Craddock.
Yes, he is.
Was the architect of that. And it has been in the works for years now. And unfortunately, for years now, there have been many people who have died because someone was texting while driving. And it simply has turned into a catastrophic thing that people do. And while I have this opportunity talking to people across the great state of Texas listening to your show, I want to emphasize, please do not text and drive. You can wait just a few moments and pull over to the side of the road, or wait till you reach your destination before you text and drive. Don't put your life or other people's lives in danger. But I want you to know that the bill that was written by Representative Craddock from Midland was passed, and I signed. I am seeking to do something else with it, however.
Okay.
I have a philosophical belief that I want to try to keep regulations in Texas as simple as possible. I believe in more freedom and in less government, and the fewer the regulations, the better. Right now, we have what I call a patchwork quilt of regulations in this sense, and that is, now that we have a statewide ban on texting while driving, we have that in addition to so many municipal or local regulations on using phones in cars that go beyond texting while driving, such as making a phone call or something like that. And the truth is, you could, let's say, live in Odessa and have one set of rules, and drive to Midland and have another set of rules,
confusing.
or drive some other place, and think of the way it would be in, let's say, the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And no one can know what all these different rules are. We need one set of rules when you're driving around to multiple cities and towns and counties, so that everyone knows what the rules are. And so what I'm seeking is for the state ban on texting while driving to preempt or to override or really to eliminate all of these patchwork quilt of local rules.
And that is, as you said, that is so going to simplify everything, because it is. It's very confusing. One of the questions that we were asking about is, so the current bill states that you just cannot text. Does that also include things like Facebook, checking emails, things like that? Is it having the phone in your hand at all, or just texting?
On the statewide ban that is now law in the state of Texas, the prohibition is only against texting while driving.
Okay.
You can have your phone, and I'm sure most people have, let's say, speed dial on their phone. So you can have your phone, press a button that has speed dial, and be able to pick it up and put it to your ear and talk to it, or talk hands-free, whichever works. What you cannot do is text, because it's the texting. Two things about the texting. One is that when you're trying to type out whatever your text message is, that's when you get distracted from the wheel. You're looking away, and it's pretty much the same with regard to your driving reaction as being intoxicated while you're driving.
Absolutely.
The other, of course, is that you may be receiving a text, and hence you're engaging in a conversation. You receive one, then you respond to it. You're engaging in a conversation on a electronic device, and you're not paying attention where your mind really needs to be, which is on the roadway.
On driving, yes. Well, if you're just joining us, on the line right now is Governor Greg Abbott. We're discussing special sessions and the 20 different items that will be included in the special sessions call. It's going to be running July 18th on into August. So what are some of the other bills that you guys are going to be addressing during special sessions?
There are several other bills that are, I call, pro-freedom bills, pro-liberty bills.
Yes, sir.
One of my primary goals, one of my primary jobs as governor, is to make sure that I safeguard your liberty, your freedom. That's what this country is all about. And the fact of the matter is, there have been some actions by some governmental entities here in the state of Texas that infringe on your freedom. Let me give you a couple of examples of what I'm talking about and the items that are on the special session agenda. One is called a restriction on municipal annexation. Now, I don't know if there's very much of a problem about this in let's say, the Odessa-Midland area. There's a big problem about this in some areas like Austin and San Antonio and other places. Here's what happens. A city decides to grow its tax base by acquiring other areas that surround the city. And so they are going to annex and forcefully bring these other areas into the city. Here's the problem. They often, the cities annexing these neighborhoods do so to bring in more revenue for the city. But they do so in a way without a vote of the people they are bringing into the city. So it's called annexation without representation, and so what we're saying is that before you can be annexed, you should be subject to getting to vote on whether or not you want to be annexed or not. Let me give you another example that I'm going to bet does not exist in Odessa or Midland or West Texas, and that is in cities like, again, Austin and San Antonio and some other cities. They no longer abide by the principle that is a fundamental Texas principle. In Texas, we believe in private property rights.
Yes, sir.
If you go out and buy a piece of property, you own that property, and you own everything on that property. The city doesn't own it. The county doesn't own it. No one owns it but you. That is your property, and everything on that property is yours. Well, what some cities say now is that's not true. Some cities say that you don't really own the trees on your own property. If you want to cut down a tree on your property, the city is going to fine you thousands of dollars or force you to spend thousands of dollars to go out and buy other trees and plant them on your property. And you may be cutting down a tree because it's in a bad location on your property, or because it is dangerous, or because you don't like it, and in fact you would want to put up some other tree. But what some cities are saying is, sorry, you can't do that. Well, I believe that's a violation of your private property rights and of your freedom, and forcing you to come out of your own wallet to pay for some agenda that the city has. And so I'm seeking for a state law to override things like that, where cities are trying to take away your private property rights.
Well, I knew that State Representative Brooks Landgraf came in earlier in the week, and he brought that up too. I have a son that lives in Austin that has issues with that topic, so he'll be thrilled with it.
Well, it's funny because not too far west of where you are is a little town where the concept would not even be an issue. It's called No Trees, Texas. And
what a wonderful name.
I doubt they have very many regulations prohibiting the cutting down of trees.
Yes. Well, it's no trees after all.
Exactly.
What about school choice for special needs student? What does that include?
Well, here's the deal. I've talked to so many parents who have a child with special needs. Mm-hmm. And this is really a very broad spectrum, because
yes, it is.
Some children with special needs, they may be in a wheelchair. Others may have autism. Others may have dyslexia. Or the reality is the list is long and varied of the different types of special needs that students have. And the reality is that our public schools do a great job of trying to accommodate these special needs, but it's really not a very efficient way of going about the process to expect every public school to be able to accommodate every special need of every child. And a more efficient, effective way of going about that is giving parents the ability to choose the school that best has the ability to address the needs of their particular
child. Yes.
And I've talked to so many parents that when I start talking to them about it, they literally begin shedding tears, because you can see in them a sense of frustration that they've not been able to have the choice of picking the school that their child desperately needs. And so we just want to be able to help those parents and very importantly help those children, so that every child in the state of Texas is going to be able to access a school that's going to help them in their unique special need and get the best education possible.
Well, I can see a trend here on the 20 different topics and bills that you're going to be addressing during special sessions. They are all to help the citizens of Texas, whether it's in the education system, whether it's in your safety in driving and saving you money and helping education. These are all wonderful, wonderful bills that you're going to be working on. We've just got a few more minutes. Is there anything that you want to wrap up with?
It's really kind of broad-based. I want people in West Texas to know what we work on every day here. And my focus is first to protect your freedom knowing that you know far better how to run your lives and your businesses and your families than do a bunch of bureaucrats in Austin, Texas. Two, I work every single day to keep you safe. That's why I work so hard to pass that ban on sanctuary cities. That's why we worked hard to fund border security. That's why we put together an effort to crack down on these very dangerous gangs and violent crimes in our city. Mm-hmm. We're going to work to keep you safe. We're going to work to build roads. We're going to work to improve our schools. And we will foremost always work to protect your liberty and your freedom.
Governor Abbott, I cannot thank you, Germany and I both cannot thank you enough for giving us a call this morning, letting us know. I know you are incredibly busy, letting us know what special sessions is going on. Please, you are invited to give us a call anytime. Keep us updated. We appreciate you and keep up the good work.
I look forward to it and can't wait to get back out there to the Odessa area.
The Permian Basin wants to see you.
You
Come
have
on
an
by.
Open invite, yes, sir.
Open invite anytime. Governor Greg Abbott on the phone from Austin. You have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.